Good morning and welcome to the live streams straight off the bat. Join us on Thursdays as we speak to individuals across multiple industries who will help you understand financial literacy and education. We're going to have a conversation about shifting the cashless reality of digital payments in Trinidad and Tobago with Carlos Newton. If you're joining us from Facebook, thank you so much. Don't forget to smash that follow button to continue seeing content that'll help you manage your money. Today, Carlos is joining us from the Trinidad and Tobago Financial Centre. He's the manager of financial system service delivery, and he's responsible for planning and implementing strategies that aid the development of the financial service sector ecosystem. I have so many questions for him, especially when it comes to the cashless and contactless payment situation. He also has a background in Masters of Business Administration, which is an MBA that he received from the University of Bedfordshire. In his spare time, he likes to cook, so we want to have a little insight into his rosemary lamb. I love rosemary as a herb, not so much the movie. But let's welcome Carlos in. Hi.
Hi, good morning, Pauline. How are you this morning?
I am great. Is it raining where you are?
Yes, it is pouring actually.
I am happy to have showers. I don't know how you feel about that.
Welcome the showers. It's just that it gets very cold in the office.
That's okay. We'll layer. So let's get straight into it, right? Because this conversation around online payments, e-commerce, there's all these different terms. So for the purpose of this conversation, we want to make sure that we are all on the same wavelength. What is a cashless payment?
All right, so the definition or what we could consider cashless payment is any form of digital means of exchanging financial transactions. So me sending you money or you making payments for any form of product or services without the use of cash. So any sort of electronic payments.
Okay. So we're talking about, because I have insight into how Trinidadians visit websites online, and I've seen that Amazon has been top 10, more recently top 5, in terms of how people actually engage with the website from an e-commerce perspective. So that's considered cashless?
Yes, so that from that perspective, making those payments are actually cashless payments.
Okay, so let's bring it down. Let's bring it more locally, because we're seeing the shift, obviously, with people not necessarily wanting to interact with human beings because there's this thing we're all going through, as well as businesses trying to connect with their customers, because, we usually go with word of mouth. And more recently, I actually saw a very popular sort of construction, concrete type business, sharing some news that they are closing their locations and asking people to purchase online. So what is your take on what's been happening? Because from a cashless perspective, there's obviously going to be effects within Trinidad and Tobago.
Right, so again, remember, cashless payments is utilizing, let's say, any form of electronic means to make your payments. Maybe credit cards, debit cards, using automated clearinghouse, which is ACH, which is bank transfers, websites, mobile phone, a kiosk. So what happens is that it's going to have both, I would say, positive impacts on the economy for one, as well on businesses. So it reduces the need for actual having a brick and mortar, right, where you can now transact and provide the same services using online facilities using a cashless database. It also reduces operational costs, so you no longer have to worry about cash in transit, security, to get the cash to the bank. So it reduces costs in that way for the businesses. So it makes it more efficient and makes you more efficient to run your business. So you can see everything online, real time. No need for cash.
And, as a small business owner myself, I welcome the ability to track these things without have to physically doing it on a, piece of paper or an Excel spreadsheet. And more recently, I think during lockdown, we saw this option for our cards to be able to, from a point of sale perspective, just tap. So can you share with us what a contactless payment is? What does that mean for the consumer as well as the business owner?
All right, so contactless payment, which is the opposite now. So contactless payment just means that the difference of paying with cash is where you actually can tap to pay, use your mobile phone to pay. If you have NFC or RFID technology, right, it requires any individual, any person just using a compatible smartphone, compatible debit card or credit card on any terminal that is provided that you can actually make these payments, right? It's completed in a short period of time. It's more safe, it's more secure, and it's very convenient. It actually reduces the time at the cash register.
So I'm going to be the devil advocate here because a lot of countries have had this. I remember when I was traveling pre-pandemic, everybody would be like, yeah, just tap your card. I'm like, guys, mine doesn't do that. I have to do the swipe. I'm like, oh, what? So over the last year or so, I think it was implemented. What was the reason that it took so long?
It's all about adoption and access. If you have access for it to be used, looking at it in a local scheme, if you have access to be used locally, you would see more person adopting, and then it comes back now to awareness. You have to make persons aware that here is what you have the capability to actually perform a contactless payment using your card. So it's a number of things looking at, and then it comes from the development perspective, from the banks who provide the terminals, ensuring that they have the requisite terminals in the market to actually accept contactless payments. So why it took so long, not sure. From the banking perspective, each institution will have their roadmap and their strategic outline of when they want to implement these things, and then they will do it in that time period.
Okay, thanks for taking the hot seat so well, Carlos. We appreciate you for that. Now, we're talking about, this ability to tap on the point of sale, because a lot of business owners will join us in these live sessions. And a lot of point of sale may not necessarily be updated. Why do you think it's important for businesses to, request this feature from their bank?
It's important. One is it is an ease of doing business, where it actually, as I said before, reduces the time that a person spends at the cash register. Right. It also reduces the amount of cash that you will have on premise at any given time. So you can, through your bank, request that here is what I want to go contactless. And even within the pandemic now, that you want to reduce contact with receiving a card, having to swipe the card and put the card. It also reduces that actual person-to-person transmission. So yeah, making those requests to your banks and saying, okay, I want to have these sorts of terminals within my facility, within my organization, is good. Also, the transactions are safer. Tap-to-pay transactions have shown to be found more reliable and more secure than any form of payment, even from the swipe perspective, even from the cash payment. So we can also look at that perspective as well.
So we can't talk about cashless without talking about our culture in Trinidad and Tobago, which is it's very cash driven. Like within the trade, for instance, I had a plumber come over yesterday and he requested payment via cash, and I physically don't have that. And there's this comfort level with, well, I don't want this to go through the bank, or I don't it'll take too long. So what say you to that business owner who is just comfortable in the cash space?
To that business owner, I would say, okay, here is what. Yes, you may be comfortable. However, going cashless again, ease of use, simplicity, just tapping, having the provisions for customers to just tap and leave, less times at your cash registers. You can even, if you want to expand your business into kiosk type business where you don't have any human interaction, person goes to the kiosk, they make their payment, they tap to pay, and they leave. As I said, the transactions are safer than the normal swipe, as well as it allows for flexible payments. Right, consumers can either access the payments using the cards once they have the NFC enabled, or the RFID, and even from the smartphones, which will be coming, I would presume, to Trinidad and Tobago pretty soon.
Do you have an opinion as to why we are so we have this stronghold on cash?
It's all about culture. It's all about culture. Everyone believes cash is king. Now, cash is always going to be around. However, the reduction of it in the market and based upon how we are accustomed doing business, if you look at the economy and look at how culturally we do business, it's always cash driven, it's cash heavy. And that's why the government in Trinidad and Tobago is actually trying to change that narrative by actually implementing different cashless models within government agencies. So you have the online, you have the terminals, you have where you can actually now pay at payment service providers. So the government through TTFC is actually working to reduce that cash within the organization. And even from another additional, from the business perspective, it improves operational efficiency, right? It offers a better customer experience. So those two added to what I said before, added to these two, which is the improved operational efficiency and better customer experience, allows for business to run better than what we had before.
You know, it's so interesting. I see a lot of similarities with the health, industry, where they're pushing these lose weight fast, and we know that we have to change certain things about our habits, but it's so hard to do it. So hearing all the benefits of what it means to be cashless, it's I feel like there's going to be this hurdle of do I really want to change my entire business model just because somebody tell me it's going to be easy? Is it actually going to be easy? What say you to that person?
Oh yes, it's going to be easier. It's going to provide you with a number of advantages in doing business, right? You can now track all the payments. Two, you don't have to worry about in-house cash. I have to say it, crime is on the rise. So you have to be mindful of this. So having less cash on premise, less cash in transit, you have to worry about is going to reduce cost of security. So that's the first thing. You'll have to pay security to take that cash into the bank for you, because you don't want to do it yourself because it's a risk. So having the cashless model, having contactless, it will provide these advantages and provide them to the business or even to the government.
I don't know if it's an age thing. Well, I mean, I'm not Gen Z, I'm millennial, but the idea of cash just scares me because it's not something that I want to walk around with. So as a consumer, it's interesting to see how we are evolving slowly as such. But we're going in that right direction. So what we're going to do, because we're going to go on a quick break, but when we come back, there's some acronyms we used earlier that we're not familiar with. That's DNS and RFID. So when we come back, we'll figure out what Carlos is actually saying. We'll be right back.
But that was like my first experience with money. Very, very first experience.
I've been in banking since I was a teenager.
Hi, everybody. Welcome back to Straight Off the Bat. Join us on Thursdays as we speak to individuals across multiple industries who will help you understand financial literacy and education. If you join us from LinkedIn, follow us now. Trust me, it'll help you. It'll help you understand how to manage your money. And who don't need that advice right now? I need it for sure. Today, we're discussing shifting to the cashless reality of digital payments in Trinidad and Tobago with Carlos Newton. Now, Carlos is going to share some insight on a lot of information, and I think it's important for us to listen in. But don't forget to slide into the comments, because we do have a Q&A section, and I did see Anil. I mean, Anil, you are spitting some really good questions here. I'm going to ask that later. But just for an FYI, Carlos is the manager of financial system service delivery at the Trinidad and Tobago Financial Centre. He's responsible for planning and implementation of strategies that aid the development of the financial service sector ecosystem. He also holds a Master's of Business Administration from the University of Bedfordshire, and he likes to cook. So we're going to mesh all of that in the recipe, and we're going to bring him in again and have the discussion, because if you're just joining us, earlier he referenced some acronyms, and we want to find out what that means from a cashless society. So give us some heads up, Carlos. What is, first of all, DNS and then RFID? Can you give us?
All right. So actually, I think the first one was NFC, which was near field communication. All right, is the technology you have on your cards where you can actually make payments utilizing the tap to pay. And then you have the other options, which is radio frequency identification, which is RFID, which is also another sort of technology that you can also use utilizing contactless payments.
So just for context, because I've seen this when I've traveled, where people use their phone to just basically tap. It's actually in the New York subway where you could just tap it and you're able to go through. So there's information on your phone that allows you to easily pay for something without even having a card.
Right. So what happens is that your phone acts as your card. So within your phone, you will either have something called a mobile wallet, or Google Pay, Apple Pay, these different types of wallets. And your phone has a capability of NFC, which is near field communication, which enables you to actually tap your phone to make that payment, utilizing the NFC technology.
Now, in my attempts to be part of the cool kids, I did try to sign up for like the Apple Pays and stuff like that, but it does not allow us in Trinidad and Tobago because you have to have a US account. So is there something that maybe you can give us a little exclusive insight from the Trinidad and Tobago Financial Centre? You know, is that coming? Is that a plan in the future?
All right, so for the local ecosystem, I can't speak for the providers out there, the PSPs or the mobile wallet providers, what technology they may be bringing. What I do know, there are some banks out there that are going to be bringing this technology to Trinidad. We have the NFC technology, so if you look on some of your cards, you will see this little frequency, like your Wi-Fi frequency on your card, that face sideways. Instead of facing up to down, it faces horizontal, so it looks like more parallel. That sign there is NFC. That means that your card is enabled to actually present or make contactless payments.
I'm excited to be part of the cool kids, so I'm hopeful that it comes soon. But you know, this conversation isn't about just me, but there are a lot of people who are unbanked. So we're gonna head over to the comment section, and Anil has a question, because earlier we were talking about the culture of cash in Trinidad and Tobago, but there's also a large section of individuals who are unbanked. So you know, as a business owner, you want to be able to reach everybody. So if you're focused on this cashless and contactless, you might miss out on the folks who are unbanked. What is your feedback there?
All right, so first things is that in order to actually understand or look at the unbanked population, you have to understand why they're unbanked. So currently, TTTIFC is working on conducting Trinidad and Tobago's first financial inclusion survey. Out of this survey, it will let us know, okay, why are persons unbanked? What are the problems that cause them to be unbanked? Why they choose to be unbanked? Or if not, what are the barriers that are preventing them to become banked? And once we have this information, we will then be able to the government will then be able to put things in place to have these persons become banked, and if they're unbankable, become bankable. All right. So, and how would it benefit them? With the introduction of different types of mobile payments, mobile wallets, and these fintech type services, persons that are unbanked will now be able to actually take part in the financial sector.
I'm very intrigued by this conversation because, you know, it's like, which comes first, the chicken or the egg? This scenario of, if we are forced to be able to engage with commerce digitally, is it people are going to then find themselves being banked, or is it a case of the businesses are just okay with that cash space, so they're not going to change?
All right, so cash is always going to be around. What we're trying to do is the reduction of cash within the society. So you're always going to have certain segments that are going to pay with cash, and we'll have that the older aging population, this is what they know, so they are going to continue using cash. Yes, they're going to be having the bank accounts and be able to transact within the ecosystem, but they're not going to be utilizing technology as much as we would want them to. So the adoption of the cashless and adoption of utilizing technology will come on for the millennials and the Generation Zs as time progresses. But in order for them to become bankable, in order for them to utilize these services, they need to be put in place. It needs to be there for them to use it.
Well, it's going to be an interesting time. It'll be amazing to learn about, you know, the feedback you get from that survey. I don't know, is that going to be made public, or is that specifically for the Trinidad and Tobago IFC for them to make decisions internally?
All right, so the information is going to be utilized to really create a nationwide strategy for financial inclusion. At this point, I can't say if it's going to be shared with the general public. I believe that we should, but I will consult and see how would that be done. But for initial stages, it's going to be utilized to create a national financial inclusion strategy and a roadmap on how do we deal with the unbanked, the underbanked, and the unbankable, and how do we get them into the financial space.
That's so interesting, especially when so many of us, I mean, I've seen the data from Trinidad and Tobago, Telecommunication Association of Trinidad and Tobago. We have more phones than people. Yes. So the fact is we are very educated on how to get online, but that cash side is just too strong for us to actually move beyond just cash.
Yeah, it is. And if you look at surveys and information coming out of the banking sector, currently we have 81% bank account ownership within Trinidad and Tobago. However, we only have 67% of those persons who own a bank account utilizing the bank accounts. So coming out of that survey, we need to understand why is this and what's preventing persons from actually not using it. The ones that have it are not using it, and then the further 19% that don't have the bank accounts are not within the financial sector. Why are they not there? So we are digging deep to get that information, and the TTRC is working with different agencies, different private sector agencies, to really help us and ensure that whatever we develop, whatever we gather, the information we gather is utilized in a accurate and well-defined manner.
We're going to look into our magic ball and ask for Carlos's feedback on the future of digital payments in Trinidad and Tobago. We'll be right back. And welcome back to Straight Off the Bat. Join us here on Thursdays as we speak to individuals across multiple industries who will help you understand financial literacy and education. If you join us from any social media network, Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, smash that button and be notified every time we go live to help you understand how to manage your money. We are closing off this conversation with Carlos because the discussion around shifting into the cashless reality of digital payments in Trinidad and Tobago is so important for business owners, consumers, parents, and Carlos is in a great position as the manager of financial systems service delivery at the Trinidad and Tobago Financial Centre to give us insight. We want to bring him in. He gave us some gems on the 81% of individuals who have bank accounts in Trinidad and Tobago, which means that you guys as business owners have an opportunity to tap into those individuals who are actively using their cards. Guilty. So Carlos, we want to look into that magic ball, and maybe, we won't hold you to it initially, about your predictions on the future of digital banking in Trinidad and Tobago. What say you?
So I'll actually give it to you twofold. I will look at the predictions within Trinidad and Tobago as it relates to the public sector, which is the government, where the necessary foundations are actually now being laid for actually digitization of payments across Trinidad and Tobago as it relates to government payments. TTIFC is working alongside a number of state agencies, regulators, to really enhance the delivery or the provision of these type of payments within government. For the banking sector, yes, it's coming. The banks, I know for surety, are working on different digital means of providing. We have them in the market. We have one such in Encash by Republic Bank. That is just one. There are more coming in the pipeline for Trinidad and Tobago. So I am seeing a shift to digital payments within the private sector, and the banks are doing so. We also have fintechs that are coming up, financial technology companies that are looking also to provide their technology to the consumers, right? But from the government perspective, I said, we are working along, and one of the things that we recently did is actually have and create instructions along with the Treasury Division to have payments accepted by payment service providers across Trinidad and Tobago. So that actually is another line of ease of doing business with the government. And even back in 2020, when we actually had the e-money order created, while working alongside the regulator, central bank, and these different regulators actually have that done. So there is a lot in the horizon as it relates to payments, and we are working with all stakeholders. We established working groups with Visa, MasterCard, United Nations. We have MOUs with them. So we are actually accelerating, and my job within the government, within TTFC, which is part of the government sector, is to accelerate payments or digitize payments across governments. So it's coming.
Awesome. And I have one more question, because I can't let you leave without representing I think I'm representing all of Trinidad and Tobago when I ask you about this, because we can't have the digital payments reality discussion without public sector allowing us to pay for our license online driver's permit. I said it, Carlos. What do you say to the people out there what to expect when they're paying for renewal of their driver's license?
All these services are coming soon to a licensing division office near you. Right? That, and as well as a number of services, may it be through different ministries, that you can actually now go and pay online. I know, and for surety, license division is one. We have immigration division. We have the office of the Attorney General as well. So there are a lot of movement and a lot of transition to digital payments within the government sector. TTIFC is committed, and in our change mandate and working with the Treasury Division, with the Ministry of Finance, to digitize these payments for the consumers of Trinidad and Tobago.
I am going to represent all of Trinidad by saying on the flip side, no longer can we tell our bosses I'm going to a licensing office and take the entire day off. So there's good times ahead for all of us. Thank you so much, Carlos, for joining us today. It really was an enjoyable discussion, and I learned so much on the shift into the cashless reality of digital payments in Trinidad and Tobago. If you are still here with us, hey, thanks. Sign up to be notified for our next live show via the links in the comments. And as always, be sure to follow and like us on social media. That's LinkedIn, Facebook, and YouTube, so you don't miss a single live show. Thanks again for joining us. See you soon. Bye.